So we're in Washington. The Northern Lights, for pretty much the only time I think in our lifetime, we will be able to see it. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. Yeah, so right now we are experiencing a solar storm that has not been seen to this level since the 1800s. Fun
Oh,
fact is, I believe the first one was observed by a scientist with the last name Carrington, so kind of cool, and it was called the Carrington event. So pretty neat. I think last time they recorded this, they also saw a lot of like electromagnetic disturbance, but in uh, those things that tap that send Morse codes. I forgot what
yep.
those are called. But those all started freaking out because there was a bunch of electromagnetism in the air. It would be a lot worse for us if something like that were to hit Earth again. Like we're talking like rolling blackouts kind of a thing. But that's like the bad part of this event. The cool part of this event is that there is auroras that should be able to be seen, at least for us in the United States, easily in Washington State, which where we are at, and all the way down into, last I saw in the news, was Alabama should be able to see a little bit of it as well.
Oh my gosh. That's really far south for the Northern Lights.
Yes. So super far south. I believe last time this happened, if I'm remembering my podcasting correctly from when I was listening to this on the car ride home on Friday, was that I think the last time the Carrington event happened, they could see the Northern Lights in Cuba.
Oh my lord.
Yeah, so just a little bit farther south than where we're at right now.
Just a little bit. That'll be awesome. Super excited. The problem will be staying up late enough to see them, but like
I'm already so tired, and I took a nap today, and so I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so hard.
I'm like, how much caffeine do I need? Because I'm finding out that when I take caffeine, I get sleepy, which is sort of a hallmark symptom of ADHD. So we'll see. Stimulants relax you, sort of thing.
Surprising absolutely nobody.
So like, wow, this rambling idiot has ADHD.
Nah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my.
Great impersonation of the doctor from Futurama. Not the main doctor, but the rival doctor.
I don't remember him.
Okay, don't worry about it then.
Let's get back on track. You got a quote for us.
Let's see if I can do this in my best Aussie accent. Remember to stay focused on... No, I can't do it like that. That's going to ruin it. Remember to stay focused on what is ahead, not what's below. This is from Omega, from the final episode of The Bad Batch. The era comes to an end.
So just a quick aside on the whole Aussie accent thing. I started narrating a Mariners game like a stereotypical Aussie, and my wife was not having it. I went, we got ourselves a new batter to the platey. Got to put down his beer first. And oh no, it looks like his beer fell over. Let's watch that in slow motion. What a shame. Julio Rodriguez steps up to the box and looks ready to smash that little white ball into the outback. I mean, outfield or whatever you blokes call it. Curse word, curse word, curse word.
I love that.
Welcome to Talk About Tatooine. I'm Andrew.
I'm Nathan.
And we are twin brothers here to bring you what's new in nerddom and give colorful commentary on our favorite subjects. Welcome to our cantina. Grab a drink and settle in as we set course for reality beyond our own.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers, brother. Welcome, everyone, to episode 71. Today's recording date is May 11th, and this episode is going to be coming out on Monday, May 13th. If I can figure out where in my schedule I'm actually going to edit this, it's going to be a photo finish this weekend. Merry Christmas. Today, we're going to talk about the Bad Batch. We're going to start off with our starter questions, and then at the end, we will throw in some nerddom news as well. So, honestly, one of my favorite starter questions is, what have you been watching recently? Andrew, go ahead and hit us with yours.
I've been watching Fallout over on Amazon. So I've been loving it so much that that's the show that I actually watch while I'm exercising. So it gets me to exercise. I'm like, oh, I want to get caught up with this. I want to stay caught up and like watch the whole thing, which I still haven't finished because my bike time is not super good. I have like a lot of recurrent thoracic back pain. So exercise is super painful. But we're working through that. But I've also been watching X-Men 97. It's so good. I did not watch the cartoon when we were growing up. And I've just been floored so far.
Are you caught up?
No,
Okay, that's fine.
don't say a word. I'll kill you. I, you. You can see by Nathan's face that he is in agony because his brother is a slow idiot.
No, you're not a slow idiot. It's you also have been watching Fallout. I do not have the option to watch Fallout, so I've been watching again Bad Batch, which we're doing a review on, X-Men '97, and I literally put in my notes that I really want to watch Fallout because everyone at work has been talking about it, and I look at them and I usually swear at them and I say, "If you fucking ruin this for me and spoil this, I will be so mad." And they're like, "Yeah, that's fair, that's fair." And then they like start talking about it. I'm like, "Go to a different room."
Yeah. Real quick, I need to turn my fan on because I am already swamping it up.
Andrew's got the swamp nuts. Swamp nuts.
1, 2, 3. Can you hear that?
No.
It's not necessarily the swamp that bothers me, which that is a huge problem. It's the humidities. That's a problem.
Humidities. Oh, folks. Oh, I'm dying.
Have fun editing that out.
You have been streaming some different games this week. Tell us about that.
So Helldivers has been in a weird place. That's typically the game that I stream. You typically stream Minecraft. I typically stream Helldivers. Not to brag, but my PC is stronger. uh, I've been streaming Skyrim, but with Star Wars mods. I just recently started that and I've been really excited about it. We've definitely seen an uptick in our viewership as that's been going on. I think it seems like people are kind of cooling on Helldivers a little bit because the whole Sony fiasco just destroyed the momentum of a lot of Helldivers players. Like, basically that entire time the Sony controversy and the Sony login thing was going on, I didn't touch Helldivers. I didn't log on a single time. I was like, okay, like I'm not signing in. I'm not going to make a Sony account just to log into the game that I already bought. That's dumb.
It is dumb.
So this is a little bit of a conspiracy, but the players in other countries who are not allowed to play Sony games per their terms and conditions or whatever, like that was probably the biggest issue is once you link Helldivers with a Sony login, it actually blocks quite a few players from different countries from being able to play a game that they already purchased and have been playing, I should say. That has not been restored as far as I am aware.
Nope, has not.
They said they're like, okay, we're not going to institute the whole account login thing, but those countries are still blocked. So, like, Sony still has to get their grimy little fingers out of this game. Like, just a reminder, they are the publisher of the game. They are not the developers of the game. So when you guys have, I think, that kind of righteous fury that I think is rightfully earned, don't direct it towards Arrowhead because they're not the ones making that call.
Indeed.
Just throwing it out there. Blame big capitalist giant Sony for being greedy and putting their fingers in pots that it didn't belong in.
Another fun fact about Sony is apparently they have a bad reputation of keeping their data secure. I was talking to my brother-in-law today about it, and he said, yeah, I'm not signing up for Sony because there's like 3 in 10 chance that they will lose your data within a year because of data leaks. And I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. And he's like, yeah,
Cool.
It does. So Sony can suck a dick. You heard it here first, folks.
Those are the kind of things you don't hear in the PlayStation versus Xbox debate is the back-end service of like, who's a worse company, Microsoft or Sony? I don't know. Electronics manufacturing is in a weird place because there's a lot of slavery involved. Just there's kind of no other way to put it. Companies that actually produce microelectronics and components and things like that, they don't let Western countries see behind the curtain of their labor practices very often because they're pretty bad.
You don't get to see how the sausage is made.
You don't get to see how the sausage is made because it's just full of human suffering. Not to mention the multitude of rare earth elements that are required to make most electronics.
And remember, folks, we either get those from countries who are using indentured servants to get those minerals, or we go to war for those minerals. So, yay, capitalism.
I mean, they're not even really indentured servants. In some cases, they are very literally slaves.
Oh no, yeah, that was me trying to be a little soft for our wonderful listeners.
Don't be soft, be hard.
Not on podcast.
Don't say that.
HR?
I need an adult. Oh gosh.
We're about to have an HR moment. Anyways, going back to our original questions, games that I've been playing. Minecraft, Empire at War. Got a little bit of that RTS fix because, again, I'm really excited about Stormgate coming up, but I've also been working on the roof of my library and enchanting tower, and I have spent more time trying to build this roof than anything else because I've messed it up like 3 times.
Yeah, I was in your world one time when you did it, and you were like, shoot, it's 1 block off. So if you guys totally want some vindication and honestly how hard building in Minecraft can be, go ahead and tune into any of our Minecraft streams. Like Nathan does a really good job. They're super fun, and the chat borderline harasses Nathan when they're in his world.
I kind of love it. I need the abuse.
It's so fun. It's so fun.
It's always fun. Well, and you usually pop in and like try to like snipe me on stream.
Yeah, I try to kill you at least once per stream. Not so much anymore since you turned off keep inventory. I'm keeping my distance because I am not a good PvP player in Minecraft.
And I will murder you to keep all my experience. I have so many levels still.
So we've kind of talked about a little bit about the games that I've been playing, but Nathan, we haven't asked this question in a long time. What kind of hobby work are you getting done?
Honestly, I kind of got a rude awakening with my hobby work because with the Orcs Codex changing, a lot of my units that I were building were grot tanks that a buddy of mine actually 3D printed, and those are legends now. And like we kind of have it as a rule in our game modes that we're allowed to use proxy models, but we really don't use Legends data sheets all that much.
Almost never.
We try to stay up with what the rules say is as current as possible. Kind of following that, it would feel in bad taste to play with grot tanks because they're no longer being balanced and updated and all those things. And so I have 24 of them.
That's a lot.
I'm like, I don't really know what to do with them now. They're actually sitting on the desk behind me that you guys can see my little paint station and my laptop where I do my editing and my painting. I know it's always messy, but I'm happy that you guys are always watching and seeing. If you guys are watching long enough to see how dirty my desk is, then thank you so much.
For sure.
It's like that just kind of hurts. We got to play some games of Combat Patrol. I went 1-1. I would have gotten a third game in, but I had to make dinner since you guys were over, and I wanted to make sure we were eating and getting you guys out at a reasonable time as well. I got more wins than you did.
Which is Big Fat 0. To be fair, I was not playing Space Marines. I was playing Chaos Knights, and I went 0-3. In
your defense, that's your first time playing Chaos Knights, correct?
It's my first time playing Chaos Knights, and that's not a good combat patrol. We were playing bare minimum 500 points, and I ran 3 War Dogs. That's it. There's exactly 1 War Dog that is considered a character, so that was my Warlord, and then I put an enhancement on them for extra armor, and then I ran the other 2 War Dogs as basically just long-range fire support. 2 of the games were exceptionally close, and I just didn't pay attention to the field well enough, and I could have actually forced a tie on one of them. In my defense, I don't last that long in games anyway, so it was a new feeling for me to have to like play the objective, because usually I'm just in pickup mode to where it's like I'm getting eviscerated, like my characters can't do any damage, I can't hold objectives. Whereas my knights were a lot different. They could hold objectives, they were doing pretty well, but I didn't do anything with them. And so that was a misplay on mine. I didn't understand the difference of how they're supposed to play, and I could have been a lot more aggressive in my play style. And like you said, I could have forced a tie on one of them, and I potentially could have even won another one. So I could have gone 1-1, but because I'm a bad strategist, I went 0-3.
So our game was incredibly close. It literally came down to me running away in my last turn to secure the victory.
Which is something that I have done before.
Yeah.
Just run away, hide on the back objective, get just enough points to eke out the win, which is a weird strategy as a Space Marine player to say, oh, we're going to tactically retreat and win.
Well, and I was fighting you with orcs, and if I had stayed in combat for that last phase, I'm like, he's going to wipe me off the board right now. He's going to kill my guys. I'm going to lose any amount of points I can, and I had to take the far objective to get the additional 5 points at the end of the game, and that's literally what sent me over. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I forced you to take an Overwatch to basically see what the game came down to, because I fell back and I was like, hey, your only way to kill my guys off this objective and force a tie is to get a perfect Overwatch, which of course you didn't. That would have been wild.
Oh, I whiffed the whole thing. Whiffed it.
That's normal for Overwatch.
Yep.
But I felt very fortunate in that last play. I was like, oh my gosh, like I basically put your chance of winning down to 0. But it was like weird because it dawned on me in the last second that I was like, I should run away, which is a very unorky thing to do. And I try to play in the spirit of my team. And because I charged you like as soon as I could, I got my guys up close and personal, and you killed so many of them every single turn. Like it was just a bloodbath.
So I think I had to make 2 shots on my Overwatch, which is a 1/6 chance, which is about a 16% chance multiplied by 16%, turns it down to like a 3.2% chance of winning. Not great.
Yep. Yeah, it was very close. So that was a fantastic time.
Whoopsie doodle. I had so much fun playing Chaos Knights, though. I did get rolled by Necrons, which felt bad. I have some serious salt about how good Necrons are and how bad Space Marines are. Sort of a side note, I am actually going to be selling a lot of my Space Marine army at the time of this episode. By the time it airs, it will still be live on eBay. It's like $1,200 worth of Space Marines, and I'm selling it for half that.
Wow.
If people are interested.
Wild.
We'll put a link in the description or something. I don't know.
There you go.
Anyway, we've talked a lot about things that are not Star Wars. We've talked about Warhammer. We've talked about Marvel. Let's get into the Bad Batch. So the Bad Batch, it's done.
It's done. It's over. Also, just a heads up here, guys. This is your official spoiler warning. So, like, we're talking about the ending of the entire season. So if you guys have not watched this yet, now is your time to eject. And I'll give you time for that by making sure to mention that you guys should like, comment, and subscribe if you guys are watching this on YouTube. Follow our podcast on Anchor or Spotify or Apple Podcasts. That helps us out a ton. If you guys can, leave us a review. If you're one of our patrons and you want to troll us, please do not leave us a weird negative review saying weird things about our personal lives. So thank you so much. And make sure to support us on Patreon as well. That goes into supporting the podcast, gets you entered into our lightsaber giveaway, which we'll talk about more at the end of the episode, and just helps us do a lot of cool and fun things. So you've been given the chance to eject. Now we're getting in. Andrew, please start us off with your rating 1 out of 10.
So I wanted to clarify a little bit with my audience, our audience, I should say. Personally, my scale of 1 to 10 is actually based off of Dune being a 10 and a 1 being the Marvels. I really didn't like the Marvels, and I loved Dune, Part 1 and Part 2. Perfect movies. Anyway, I'd give Bad Batch Season 3 a 7, especially the end. I would give it a 7, which I think is typically pretty high for animation. Animated TV tends to have smaller budgets, less impactful stories, especially in an age where everything has to be connected to other things in that IP. Star Wars is no exception. Everything's connected. Actually, Star Wars is sort of like too small of a universe, in my opinion, but that's not what we're here to talk about. The Bad Batch, I really like how it ended. I enjoyed the intensity, the stakes were there, and the ending actually wasn't super predictable. And I should explain a little bit. Yes, it was very obvious that I thought the Bad Batch would be successful in their attempt to save Omega and the children, but the actual fate of the Batch was up in the air, especially with the Zillo Beast rampaging through the facility. I'll always upvote giant monsters. Always. Side note, it would be totally fun, a totally fun episode to compare different kaiju and mechs from different fandoms. Anyway.
Ooh, yes, it would.
What's your rating?
Okay, so I gave this like 3 different ratings because this was the series finale, not just the season finale. I kind of...
Right, yeah.
I went through a few different things. So the season finale as a specific episode, 8 out of 10. Loved it. Absolutely, like, thought it was a nail biter of an episode. It was nice and long to finish out. Love the fact that they released the Zillow. Again, huge fan of Star Wars kaiju movies. They could do that. There's more. I'll get into that as well. The clone assassins were a super cool touch. Super sad that so many prisoner clones gets murdered. I feel like that's just Disney trying to inflict emotional damage on us, because they're like, hey, we know you guys all love the clones. We're going to release a bunch of prisoners of them, and these assassins are going to shoot at least 12 of them on screen. And you're like, this is... There were so many times where I had to like pause and I was like, this is a kids show. And I'm like, this is wild. Like, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, who is this written for? I'm like, I know it's written for us. But yeah, season finale specific episode, I gave an 8 out of 10. The entire season, I also gave an 8 out of 10. So season 3, since this was their final season, they left out a lot of the filler episodes almost entirely.
Thank goodness.
And it was like, oh my gosh, they finally got this right.
Ugh.
And they just like, every episode was moving towards the same narrative. So I loved that. The entire series, so Bad Batch as an entire whole, all 3 seasons, I gave a 7 out of 10. And really, I think it loses points because there's too much filler in previous seasons.
Yep.
There were some plot threads that I felt like they left open,
Mm-hmm.
and like future projects, some things that they closed, for example, i.e. Delta Squad. So again, big spoiler here, Scorch gets killed. He gets shot multiple times in the chest, falls off of a platform. He's dead.
Yeah, he's 100% dead.
Yeah. And normally I would say like, oh, well, if we don't see a body, they're not dead.
No, he's dead.
They've confirmed that that is their way of killing people on this series, because that's what happened to Tech. I low-key the entire time was waiting for Tech to come back, and he didn't. They were like, no, he actually did. And then the trauma set in, and I was like, oh, he's actually dead. I felt like that was a big missed opportunity with not filling in the holes with Delta Squad. And also, speaking of kaijus, because the Zillow was such an important part of this like series and the animated universe, bring it back the monolith from season 1.
Oh yeah,
Dude,
the giant
yes. Robot thingy. And they like blow it up, and they're like, oh yeah, this like super cool thing that like no one really knows what it is for, and that's probably a relic from some ancient civilization, and they destroy it and they do nothing with it. I'm like, guys, that could have been an awesome Chekhov's gun to fight the Zillow beast. Like, come on. But no.
Nope. We don't see anything come of that. But I mean, to be fair, the payoff for the Zillow beast was years in the making, because we see the Zillow beast initially get killed in the Clone Wars, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago at this point.
Don't say too much about the Zillow beast. I have notes on this later.
Okay. But then it's back.
Indeed. Comes back in the episode Metamorphosis.
The payoff is slow. Just one quick note for our listeners. In case you didn't catch that, Bad Batch is over.
Dunzo.
There's no more Bad Batch. Like when Nathan was saying, this is the series finale, not just the season finale. Bad Batch is done. We may see the Batch come back in episodes of something, but we don't know what that is. There's nothing on the horizon right now for Star Wars animated TV.
Which is okay. I feel like they need to let us sit in that for a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's move on to the next portion. We're going to talk about favorite moments from each episode. So I had a really good time filling this out. I literally made like 8 bullet points of just like things I really loved about the final episode. And it was just so good. And so again, I loved how the Zillow got released. Star Wars kaiju movies need to become a thing.
They do. Yes.
I think Star Wars, you mentioned earlier that Star Wars is too narrow of a universe. And there are things like kaiju movies that they could easily do. There is a sprinkling of horror genre that they could do as well, with the Drengir, with Death Troopers, with Red Harvest. Like, there are precedents in canon and legends for doing that, and I really want them to expand into other things. But this literally just got me so hyped. I was like, so funny. Like when the stormtroopers like line up to like make a firing line against the Zillow, I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, they made the line and I was like, oh, that's cute. They're all gonna die.
They're like, for the Empire, and it's like it's like, oh, they're so dead.
Which you have to remember, the Zillow beasts are sentient. Like when the first one got killed, it was actively hunting the Emperor across Coruscant.
Oh yeah.
he's like, hey, I don't like you. You're dirty Sith, and I can feel it, but
Yeah.
no one's going to know. So, yeah.
And Palpatine was like, "Oh my goodness, please stop this little beastie. You're my Jedi master." He had to, like, he totally, like, to the very end of those, in that episode arc, he was like, "I'm just a helpless old man." And at the very end, he's like, "Actually, I'm not." Clone Wars is great. Now I'm going to have to rewatch it.
For sure. I definitely wrote a note out to myself in this episode. I said, I hope everyone is okay with violence against stormtroopers because there are so many brutal kills against stormtroopers in this. Again, it was one of those things where I was like, this is a kid's show? How?
So, if I may, I have a Star Wars mod. So the mods on Skyrim, sorry, I'm back on this. I have Star Wars mods installed on Skyrim, and they're different for Xbox and PC. So on my Xbox, which is not the one account I stream off of, all of the Imperial soldiers are dressed as stormtroopers, and it's just this red veil comes over my eyes whenever I see them, and I'm just like, they must die! Kill the fascists! And vroom, 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 force lightning, and they're all dead.
I love that.
It's when people are like, Star Wars is kind of dumb, like the stories aren't that good, the writing's not good, and it's like, well, have you thought about this? And like dorkily swings a lightsaber. Checkmate, idiot.
Watch out or I'll cut your arm off. Another one of my favorite parts of the episode was the justice that the Zillo Beast gets, because it basically rampages its way out onto the planet, and now it has like an entire forested planet that is technically no longer under Imperial control, but like, what justice?
Insert Archer rampage gif right here. Rampage.
Absolutely. So good. I did also love that the ending episode did a really good job converging all of the arcs and Easter eggs. The Zillo Beast, Omega, Project Necromancer, Scorch, like it all came together. They didn't quite mention that like Project Necromancer was working on cloning, but they definitely mentioned that like it was kind of implied that they were trying to clone Force users. That was there kind of the whole time, but also was Project Necromancer also a brainwashing operation for those clones? Like I didn't know if those were exactly the same, but they kind of had a lot of different pots going at the same time.
Yes.
So lots of cool stuff.
I mean, based off of the name, like Project Necromancer is Palpatine's plan B. That's how he returns. And that's really what we see is in episode 9 when they're like, somehow Palpatine returned, which is objectively bad writing.
It is. It's real bad.
Now Dave Filoni is going back and he's taking big old strips of plot tape and putting it over that gaping wound. It's fine. We'll stop the bleeding.
One of my favorite parts about this episode is actually that the Bad Batch actually get handed to them.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like the assassins are like just better in every way, and it takes an overwhelming amount of luck and numbers for the Bad Batch to survive. I thought Wrecker was going to die. I thought he was going to die. I cannot believe he survived that. That was wild.
Yeah. He if he dropped dead of a heart attack like 24 hours after the series finale, I would be like, yeah, that tracks. Because he probably should be dead. But he's super strong. He's super resilient. Oh, but the Batch have been through it. And we totally see that at the very end because they just get their handed to them. They're like, we broke in. And then like, they're just all in prison. They're like, but we got here, didn't we? Spits out a bunch of teeth.
Yeah, they get pretty, they get a good walloping. That's what I was looking for.
They get a good walloping.
I was trying to think of like an Aussie word. I was like, what do Aussies say? And I was like, no, I got nothing.
Without having to bleep.
Andrew, give me some of your favorite parts.
Sure. Let's talk. My first notes. I did some quick notes because I'm always multitasking when I'm writing notes for this show. And all I wrote was Scorch is dead. And not only that, we don't see the rest of Delta Squad, which, oh man, that grinds my gears.
There's a kick right in the testicles.
This is a favorite thing, but also like it also could be in my least favorite because I would love to see a show just about Delta Squad. I would giggle like a little schoolgirl if we saw Delta Squad back. Yay. Okay, so I don't know if I'm sad, excited, or like mixed about Scorch being dead, but I do think his death will bring in the rest of Delta Squad in whatever form we see. I think Delta Squad will show up as more Imperial assassins because they have to be somewhere. Delta Squad is canon. We've seen all of them together. We don't know their fate. At most, Sev is also dead because he dies in the Legends game Republic Commando.
He doesn't die, he gets MIA. It's different.
Nobody, can't count him as KIA. You're right. You're right. That's the rule. But I just want to know what happened to them. I loved that game. I read all the books. Please don't let me down. I want to see it. I was pretty sad when they mowed him down because he takes a lot of shots. And once he plummets off the bridge, I'm like, a part of me was like, I know you're evil, but gonna salute anyway because you're my favorite.
Could you have at least stunned him, please?
No, they cap his. He is dead.
Yeah, he's super dead.
I'm going to move on from my total love affair with Scorch. I thought it was a total big-brained moment to have Crosshair lose his hand. Brutal. Watching that scene, I thought to myself, from a tactical standpoint, the Empire should not allow these guys to be carried off in handcuffs. They're way too dangerous. Execute them on the spot. But since the Empire wasn't done playing mad scientist, it was enlightening why they were kept alive. Who else are they supposed to monologue to if you don't take prisoners? The moment they cut off Crosshair's hand caught me so off guard. I was like, you guys are keeping extremely dangerous prisoners. And then they cut off his hand. I was like, okay, he's significantly less dangerous now. And it was so... First off, my first thought is always, oh my gosh, this is a kid surely cut off his hand. I was flabbergasted at the ruthlessness of that move. And in the end, it seemed like that almost like was very healing for Crosshair because like the whole time we've seen his hand, like his aim is off. He hasn't been able to shoot anything because his primary hand has the shakes. It's like PTSD from everything he's been through. I mean, they basically shoved an electrode in his brain and were like, you will obey us. And he was like, hey, that actually kind of hurts. And now now it's like not really a mystery why he can't shoot anything. And the Empire's like, you're not a very good trooper. And he's like, whose fault is that? Like, in the end, it seemed like him losing his hand it was almost as if the part of him that betrayed the squad was left behind. The way you would prune off the dead branches of a tree, like Crosshair was pruned of his past and almost like exonerated in a sort of way so that he could be part of the batch again.
Yeah, symbolism.
One of the general feelings I got from the finale is at no part did I think the batch was safe because we don't see the Bad Batch show up in future properties. So there's nothing to say that they would make it out alive. Even Omega, I was like, I'm not sure if she's going to live through this. Having everyone's fate be on the table is a good writing move. When you know people aren't going to die, you're like, okay, plot armor is a thing. It makes the show less interesting because like it's really hard to turn off that who's going to live and who's going to die. Like what's going to happen. You're always constantly thinking about how is this going to go. And when your expectations are subverted, that's when you're like blown away and you're like, I had no idea that this was possible.
Yeah.
And like having the batch's fate just be who says whether or not they'll live or die, that's not confirmed. And like Wrecker almost is completely killed. Like his armor is in pieces. He gets electrocuted for like 5 minutes straight.
Yeah, I cannot believe he's alive.
I'm like, what? Hunter gets his ass kicked. He gets like really close to an explosion, gets thrown up against a wall, probably has a concussion, basically limps out of the facility. Crosshair loses a hand, which should have immediately sent him into shock. He probably was just like, just adrenaline, take me home. Because that's the only thing that's going to keep me going. Man, I hope they have good medical attention. Otherwise, the batch died like 24 hours after that event. I just had so much fun watching it, and I'm so sad it's over.
It was a good show. So obviously, this is not obviously, because sometimes we do this format, sometimes we don't. This is usually where we would move on into our episode theories. I got a big goose egg on basically all the theories I made for this show. I was like, people are going to die. The only person who died was Tech. I thought the entire batch was going to get like slowly picked off through the show. I did not see Crosshair coming back and making a redemption. I thought they were going to kill him and that was going to like haunt the batch, like all these things. And I got none of my theories and predictions right. So here we are.
Oh, yeah, I totally goose egged it. I didn't get anything right. I mean, what's new, but.
Other than that, we'll move on to some lore here, guys. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Zillo Beast.
Oh, thank you.
The Zillo Beast is a creature of immense power, originally found on Malastare. Now, you can see this episode of the Clone Wars with the war on Malastare. I don't remember what season or episode. I should have written that in my notes. Nathan's a dummy. This species...
You are a dummy, but not for this.
That's fair. This species was thought to be extinct until 21 BBY, or before Battle of Yavin, which is when they uncovered the beast during the Battle of Malastare. Now, the Republic was like, hey guys, we made a new bomb. This always goes well, right? When big capitalist governments are like, hey guys, we made a new thing that goes boom, and it's a proton bomb. It's essentially a giant EMP that is meant to like knock out all the droids. And it works. It's super effective. However, the explosion and the energy that released, first of all, the energy, because Zillo Beasts are very in tune with the electrical currents around them, the energy woke up the Zillo Beast, and the explosion mixed with a Zillo Beast that is now awake created this giant sinkhole, which now the Zillo Beast is trying to work its way out. They have to like fight it with artillery. They find out that like they can immobilize it with their energy weapons, but it was just a whole thing. After being transported to Coruscant, after they were just bombarding this thing with electricity, they basically stunned it into submission with artillery, which again is crazy. They transport it to Coruscant, and of course it gets out, which then we get to see a cool kaiju level rampage across the cityscape of Coruscant. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it's very sentient. It knows Palpatine is the evil like person here, and it tries to kill him, which is awesome. And then they eventually put it down. Then we get to the point where Palpatine is like, hey, that thing that can block lightsabers, reflect energy weapons, essentially absorb energy, and is super resilient, may be a good technological asset. And so they take the beast to be cloned at the Tantis facility, and then they actually succeed in cloning it, which is where we see the creature come about from Tantis, essentially.
And if you guys want to catch more about the Zillo Beast, I actually did look it up because I'm not a slacker like you, Nathan. It's the Clone Wars Season 2, Episodes 18 and 19. It is the Zillo Beast, and the Zillo Beast Strikes Back.
There you go, folks. You heard it from me first, not Andrew. Excellent. You guys probably can't tell the difference between our voices anyway, so suck it. Just kidding. Don't suck it. Please keep listening. Andrew, let's go over our least favorite parts before we go into news from the HoloNet.
Honestly, I had very little to complain about. Really, the only thing I have to, say is like a ding against the Bad Batch. I mean, the writing wasn't perfect. It's no Dune. But like, I'm mostly just sad that it's over. And it's over and we have no idea what's coming next. So the only Star Wars television or movie that we have slated to come out next is The Acolyte. There's nothing else on the horizon.
Sick.
That I know of. And that's a weird place to be. That is really how it felt in, 2003 when The Empire Strikes Back came out or whatever it was. There's just nothing. There was just nothing for a really long time.
Actually, they did release a new Star Wars game, and it was a modded version of Helldivers.
Oh, don't forget about Lego Star Wars Fortnite collab.
Yeah, again, Fortnite being the greatest producer of Star Wars gaming for the last 5 years. Way to go, America. My least favorite part about this was honestly Scorch and Delta Squad. Scorch dying also killed part of me. He's a fairly common Legends character, and a very small part of the overall canon, but he was big in our hearts, and he just got shot. I swore so many times when I watched this, and I'm already going to have to bleep myself several times, so I'm not going to swear again. But they killed him. We don't know where his brothers are. Where is Boss, Fixer, and Sev? Where are they, Disney?
Give them to me! Come on!
So yeah, super upset about that, but other than that, honestly, loved it. And that brings us into news from the HoloNet.
News from the HoloNet.
So, Andrew, you'll see in our notes that I did cross out the first one because we kind of already talked about Helldivers news and that things are not back to normal, and that is unfortunate. As of this episode recording, everybody, we have 4 entries into our raffle. Our goal is to hopefully get about 100 entries into that raffle before August 5th. That would be fantastic. And now, You guys might be thinking, oh, what do you mean like entries into the raffle? Guys, I got you.
He's got the tickets.
I have got tickets.
He's got the golden tickets.
And I got a jar and everything. See, we've got a few in there already.
He's got the golden tickets in his jar.
It's really hard. Yeah, it's really hard to see them because they keep like falling over. But there are tickets in here.
You should fold them in half so that they like stack up a little bit more.
Yeah, basically every time you guys subscribe on Twitch, which we are counting Amazon Prime subscriptions, every time you gift a sub, every month you support on Patreon, and every purchase on Etsy is 2 tickets. So everything else is 1, purchase on Etsy are 2. So support us, guys. If we get enough, we will throw in additional lightsabers to give away.
Yep.
But this is a really great way that we can give out free stuff. We want to do this annually. We want this to be something you guys look forward to every single year. And we want to give you guys plenty of opportunity to do that. That is ideally not at a great cost to you, but also goes to directly towards supporting the show. We're not trying to be like, ha ha ha, we know that if we hit this many tickets, we'll make this much profit. It's like we're literally just trying to dig ourselves out of the hole with all the software and stuff that we purchased for you guys. Yep. So help us out. Buy a ticket and then maybe get a lightsaber.
Our financial goal is to break even, not to be rich. So
yeah, we're not in the right business if we're going to get rich. So
well, yeah, we legitimately are doing this because we're having a lot of fun. Anyway, are you a fan of unhinged superheroes? Excellent, we are too. New episodes of The Boys, which is an Amazon show, is coming out June 13th. I think they're showing like 1 or 2 episodes right out of the gate. It's hard R television, ladies and gentlemen. Like, I mean, there's pretty much nothing they don't do. I mean, drugs, alcohol, nudity, and excessive violence, but it's a good show. It's a really good show. It is real life.
It is real life superheroes, 100%.
Yeah.
This is how real people would behave if you gave them superpowers. Some of them would be dicks, 100%.
Yes. I love The Boys. I think it's a great show, mostly because I really like what it has to say about those who have power over, I guess, regular people and kind of the toxic influence of large corporations. The Boys talks a lot about that, but also like superpowers, it's cool. Also, Disney and Marvel Studios are now in the process of reeling in the MCU movies and TV production. Nathan, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. So there's not as many projects on the horizon for Disney and Marvel. If you guys have been keeping up with everything, and I actually think Film Theory did a really, really good job at summing this up, is that they talked about quite a bit. This was actually when Matthew Patrick was still the host of Film Theory, is they talked about how Disney put out too much content.
Oh, 100%. 100% agree. Yep.
They put out too much. And because they did that, the overall quality went down.
Big time.
The amount of minutes you had to watch to understand what was going on, like tripled. And so it wasn't easy to stay in. And it was bad.
Did you see that meme where it was the conversation between Doctor Strange and Wanda in the orchard of Multiverse of Madness? Wanda says, like, I've done some things, alluding to the things she did in that little town in her titular show, WandaVision. And Doctor Strange in the meme just turns to her and goes, I don't watch Disney Plus. So he has no idea what she's talking about. It's like, oh my gosh. That's so true. That's so true. They've gotten into this area where you need to watch every little bit in scrap of TV and movies to like understand what's going on. But the payoff sucks. Like there's a reason why The Marvels was my least. I gave it a 1. I thought it was boring. I thought it was a misuse of incredible talent and probably money for that matter. Honestly, that movie felt like more of a producer's where like, oh, we're just making this for the tax write-off sort of thing. I mean, that's a little tinfoil hat kind of dialogue, but
some light conspiracy theories,
which is really what we like to dabble in here. It's just some light conspiracy theories. Like there's probably lizard people.
Stop it. He does not speak for the podcast anymore, folks. Coming up on our next piece of news here, guys, we're just going to try to move on and ignore that. There is a ton of hype for Deadpool 3. Now, if you're not familiar with our fourth wall breaking superhero, this is going to be probably a very important turning point for the MCU. Very excited to see what is going to happen with this, and I'm honestly hoping we can ride the hype and take time to fix basically all of the crappy shit that's going on behind the scenes. I don't think Ryan Reynolds and Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, thank you, I don't think would let a crappy movie pass with them both being on the same production team. I think they are going to put a really, really good foot forward here.
I hope so.
Considering Ryan Reynolds has made a fantastic Deadpool in actually technically already 3 movies at this point. Because he was Weapon X in a different X-Men movie, which is like also Deadpool kind of. And then, so he's already starred multiple times. Hugh Jackman is just amazing as Wolverine. So we got a lot coming through, which again, I wish you had seen X-Men 97 because Wolverine, man, wow. Thoughts, feelings, a little bit of tears. Anyways.
Don't you spoil it. I'll poison your next meal.
Do it.
Promise?
Promise you will.
Give us the next 2 notes, and I'll finish this off with the last point of nerddom news.
Fantastic. I'm going to keep this one short. Guys, we're getting Lego Darth Jar Jar because apparently Lego Star Wars is like inventing alternate realities now. And it makes me just like, it makes me just want to like poke my eyes out. I'm like, oh no.
But the Lego movies are great. They're really good. The Lego Star Wars ones have been pretty subpar, but like Lego Batman and the Lego Movie 1 and 2 honestly have been very entertaining, and I really like them.
Interesting.
Anyway.
What's also cool is, speaking of Jar Jar Binks, Ahmed Best, who plays Jar Jar Binks, but also plays Kelleran Beck in Mandalorian, I think it is. He has actually been quoted by in an interview he did, and then I saw this article in comicbook.com. I don't know if they're the ones that did the interview or if they're just reporting on it, but he said he is hoping that he can reprise his role as Kelleran Beck and basically make this character into a Jedi John Wick. And I'm here for it. I want it to happen. I want somebody to see that, sign him, give him a lot of money to do that, and then go on a lightsaber, righteously infused killing spree. That's what I want to see.
Huzzah.
Huzzah.
Our last piece of nerddom news, it's been confirmed that they're making a new Lord of the Rings movie. However, it's a prequel, and it's focusing on Smeagol, which sounds so dumb. Is that okay to say? It sounds awful.
May I give some context? So,
no.
Fine.
Yes, please do.
Okay, so I was talking about this with a Lord of the Rings fan at work, and he was saying that at first it might seem like this is going to be a bad idea, but he said, to the credit of the writers, there is over 20 years of time between Smeagol becoming Gollum and Frodo finding the ring. So there's a lot of time in there for stuff to happen. So this could be a good thing.
Sure, that's fine. However, I mean, that would be cool to see kind of like what Aragorn is up to, because he's actually like pretty old. He lives like a really, really long time because of his ancestry. I'm not 100% sure on exactly what all that means, but he's like not a normal lived human either. So we could see some of what Aragorn is up to. I would be lying if I said I wasn't having Smeagol or Gollum flashbacks to the game. The one that absolutely tanked.
That's fair.
And no one played because it looked so bad. Like that, I'm like, I don't see how they could see that game first off and think that's a great idea. Let's make a game about Smeagol or Gollum, sorry, and make it like a rogue stealth game. That sounds awful. And then it did awful and no one played it. And now they're like, okay, well, that didn't work. Let's try doing the same thing, but in a movie. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Come on. There are so many interesting characters in the Lord of the Rings universe. I'm just going to say it. Gollum is not even in the top 10. He's not. He's frankly kind of annoying.
Another piece of positive noise?
My wife just said in the background, agreed. That's 2 against.
Andy Serkis is helping produce it.
I love Andy Serkis. He's so great. And he does an amazing job portraying Gollum. Doesn't mean his character's not annoying. Like, it's not annoying because you're like, oh, you can tell Andy Serkis is like totally phoning it in. It's like, no, Andy Serkis is doing a perfect job playing a character who is inherently a little annoying.
Yes, indeed.
I'm getting a lot of support from my wife in the background, just letting you know. So
fair. All right, Andrew. Hit us with our next point.
we're going to kind of close this out, guys. Thank you so much for sticking around with us. Big thanks to our patrons, Mike, Isaac, and David, and also our biggest Twitch supporter, the Comber. Thank you so much, dude. We really appreciate all of you guys. You guys are the reason that we do what we do, and honestly, we have a delight to chat with you guys in our Discord server. Anytime someone posts in our Patreon Discord server, I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. For just $5 a month, you can support us over here at Talk About Tatooine so we can do more awesome things like more giveaways and more game servers and higher quality content. Right now, 720p. That's the kind of stuff that like your support goes into. Higher quality cameras, higher quality mics, higher quality software. That all costs money. It's not free.
A horrendous amount of money.
A horrendous amount of money. Thank you all again so much from the bottom of our hearts. And with that, we're going to end this show with our giveaway.
Yes. So thank you guys so much for sticking with us here, guys. Currently, we have, again, 4 raffle tickets given away. So make sure you guys, the primary way we would love for you guys to support is to join us on Patreon. This is an extremely low bar of entry. Is $5 a month. Most of us don't even notice $5 a month, but we notice it. We literally have that money allocated the moment it comes in to different projects. We also are working on always increasing the benefits of that server as well. So the Patreon gives you access to our Discord server for life. So even if you're only a supporter for 1 month, you still get access to our Discord. Where we offer a lot of different like digital goods. I have made probably a dozen emotes at this point that you guys are more than welcome to steal. I have a channel that I literally post them in so that you can just like save that to your PC, post them in your own Discord channels, use them as emotes, things like that. Super, super fun. We also have a Minecraft realm. So while you're an active Patreon member, you have access to a Minecraft realm. And that's the same realm we stream on several days a week. So you guys get to be part of the SMP, which would be super, super nice. So
that alone is worth the cost of entry.
So you guys can also support us over on Twitch as well. That's really awesome because Twitch subscriptions, like it doesn't pay as much as Patreon, but it develops a really, really cool user experience. People love it when like they get sub gifts. We make all of our own emotes and all of that stuff. And you can also join and support for free if you have a Prime subscription. So do that. We don't get a ton from Prime subscriptions, but we do get something, and it doesn't cost you that much, and it gets you a raffle ticket to win a lightsaber, so that should be enough. Honestly, one of the biggest things that also does is it removes ad watching, which actually I think I have disabled right now because we were getting like 3 cents per stream on ads, and
that's not worth it.
Yeah, that's annoying. So I think we removed those, but you guys can also purchase things from our Etsy shop. So for example, like our holographic Helldiver sticker.
That's such a cool sticker.
I love this thing. And we may or may not be putting that on sale soon. So make sure you guys like it. Leave a review on the shop. It seriously helps us so much. We have just a few more of our fuck around and find out scientific method stickers, which, I've got over on the side right now. We have a few more of those left. We just shipped out a few more the other day. Super excited about that. Guys, it's very, very slow progress over there, but like make sure you guys do that. I'm actually working on we're both from Pacific Northwest. Sasquatch slash Bigfoot is like kind of a meme up here. And so I actually am creating a tactical Sasquatch sticker that I want as part of our kind of like, this is kind of our area that I'm working on, so it could be really fun. And again, patrons get to see those things kind of as they're happening. So
for sure.
Make sure to support us here, guys. Buy stuff from our Etsy shop. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe in all the different places. And until next time, may the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.